All right, so, we're going to be looking at saving strategies today.
Okay.
And this is something that I know a lot of people, have sent in questions about.
Yeah, definitely a popular topic.
And we're really going to take a deep dive today into this guide
Okay.
that someone was nice enough to send to us called
Yeah.
Saving Strategies, Tips for Building an Emergency Fund
Okay.
and Achieving Financial Goals.
Sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is. It's very comprehensive. And it's really nice because it's very practical, too.
Practical is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. But one of the things that I found interesting about this guide is that,
Okay.
right off the bat, it talks about how a lot of people, they feel this anxiety
Oh, yeah?
about unexpected expenses.
For sure. I mean, that's definitely something that resonates with a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sense of what if something happens?
Right.
What if the car breaks down? What if there's a medical emergency?
Exactly.
It's that kind of underlying worry.
It is. And I like how the guide really tackles that emotional side of saving.
Yeah.
It's not just about having the money set aside, but it's
yeah.
about that feeling of security
Right.
and control that it brings.
Absolutely. It's that peace of mind knowing that you've got a cushion
Yeah.
to fall back on if things go sideways.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you start thinking about it that way, it's almost like
Yeah.
it's almost like saving becomes less about deprivation
Uh-huh.
and more about empowerment.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your finances.
Right.
So you're not constantly stressed about what might happen.
Yeah. And the guide really dives into the nitty-gritty of building that foundation
Okay.
of financial security with a big emphasis on the emergency fund.
Right. The emergency fund. That's like the first line of defense.
Yeah. Why do you think they emphasize this so much?
Well, think about it. Most of us have probably been there at some point,
Yeah.
right? An unexpected financial hit comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Car repairs, medical bills, job loss.
Oh, yeah.
It can really throw you off track.
Yeah, for sure.
And having that emergency fund, it acts as a buffer,
Mm-hmm.
prevents you from having to scramble to cover those costs.
Right.
Maybe going into debt, racking up high interest charges.
Yeah. Or having to borrow money from family or friends.
Exactly. It's about having that safety net so you can weather those unexpected storms.
And the guide suggests having 3 to 6 months worth of
Okay.
essential expenses saved.
That's the general guideline.
But how do you define what's truly essential?
That's a great question because essential can mean different things to different people.
Right. Are we talking basic survival or are we talking
Yeah.
comfortable living?
It's really about those non-negotiable expenses.
Okay.
The bare minimum you need to survive
Okay.
if your income suddenly stopped.
Got it.
So we're talking rent or mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
groceries, utilities, transportation.
So not those shoes I've been eyeing.
Probably not. Those can wait.
Okay. Good to know. Good
All
to
right.
know.
The key is to be realistic
Mm-hmm.
and honest with yourself about what you absolutely need.
Versus what you can cut back on.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense.
So no lattes every day.
All right.
Maybe cut back a little bit.
Okay. So we've got our emergency fund and we're feeling a bit more secure.
That's step one.
Now, what about those bigger financial goals, those dreams we want to make a reality?
All right. So now we're talking about moving beyond just surviving
Yeah.
and actually thriving.
Exactly. And the guide dives into achieving those financial goals.
Okay.
And I have to say, I love how it breaks down the SMART goal framework.
Right. SMART goals. That's a classic framework.
It is, but it's classic for a reason.
Yeah, it works.
It does. It really does. So for those who might not be familiar,
Okay.
can you just quickly remind us what SMART stands for?
Sure. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, so it's about setting goals that are well-defined
Mhm.
and actually attainable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No more vague wishes.
Right. It's about getting crystal clear on what you want
Yeah.
and how you're going to get there.
And that time frame, that's crucial.
Right. Because otherwise it's easy to just keep pushing things off.
Exactly. It's like, oh, I'll start saving for that trip next year.
Right.
And then next year becomes the year after, and so on.
And suddenly you're 10 years older.
Yeah. And still haven't taken that trip.
Okay, so SMART goals, got it.
It's a game changer.
It really is. And the guide provides some great examples too.
Does it give specific examples?
It does, yeah, for different types of goals.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, so short-term goals, maybe saving for a new phone or a weekend getaway.
Mm-hmm.
Medium-term goals, like a down payment on a house.
Okay.
And then long-term goals, like retirement.
Right. So it covers the whole spectrum.
It does. And what I find really helpful is how it emphasizes that no matter what your goal is,
Yeah.
whether it's big or small,
Mm-hmm.
the principles of setting SMART goals
Right.
and creating a plan,
They apply across the board.
they do. They absolutely do.
It's a universal framework.
It is. And speaking of plans, the guide introduces the 50-30-20 budgeting rule.
Okay, the 50-30-20, that's a popular one.
Yeah, it is. But is it realistic for everyone?
Well, that's a good question.
Because, everyone's financial situation is different.
Exactly. Everyone's got different incomes, different expenses.
Different priorities.
So while it's a good starting point,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to acknowledge that it might not be a perfect fit for everybody.
Okay, so how do you know if it's right for you?
Well, you got to look at your own situation.
Yeah.
For example, someone with a lot of high-interest debt,
Mm-hmm.
they might need to allocate more than 20% to debt repayment.
Right.
Or someone with a lower income, they might struggle to save that much.
Okay, so it's more of a guideline.
It's a framework,
Okay.
a starting point.
And then you kind of adjust it?
Exactly. You tailor to your own needs.
Okay, that makes sense.
You got to find what works for you.
Now, one thing I really liked about the guide is how it talks about breaking down large goals into smaller milestones.
Oh, yeah, that's a great strategy.
Why do you think that's so important?
Well, think about it. If your goal is to save, let's say, $10,000,
Mm-hmm.
that can feel really overwhelming,
It can.
right? Like, where do you even begin?
Yeah, it's like climbing a mountain.
Exactly. But if you break it down
Okay.
into saving, let's say, $250 a week,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly it feels a lot more manageable.
It does.
And those smaller wins, they help you stay motivated.
Right.
You're making progress, you're seeing results.
It's like that feeling of checking things off your to-do list.
Exactly. It gives you that sense of accomplishment.
Right. And it keeps you moving forward.
Momentum, that's key.
And speaking of making saving easier, the guide highlights automation.
Oh, automation.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
It is. What's your take on that?
Well, I think automation can be an incredibly powerful tool
Mm-hmm.
because it takes the effort out of saving.
Right. Like you don't have to think about it.
Exactly. You set it up once and then it just happens automatically.
Like magic.
Kind of like magic.
So things like setting up automatic transfers to your savings account or using those Roundup apps where it rounds up your purchases.
Yeah, those are great.
And puts the spare change into savings.
It all adds up.
It does, but there's a potential downside,
Oh, is that?
which the guide smartly points out.
What's that? What?
And it's the risk of becoming complacent.
Ah, I see. No, just because you've automated your savings
Right.
doesn't mean you should just completely ignore your finances.
Exactly. You still need to be paying attention to where your money's going
Right.
and making sure that you're still on track.
To reach your goals.
So it's about setting it up and checking in,
Yeah,
not just setting it and forgetting it.
good point.
Okay, now even with automation,
Okay.
sometimes we need to free up more cash to reach those goals faster.
Right. Sometimes you got to get a little more aggressive.
So what are some of the smart spending strategies
Okay.
that the guide suggests?
One of the first things they recommend is reviewing your subscriptions.
Oh, subscriptions.
Yeah, those recurring payments for streaming services, subscription boxes,
Gym memberships.
all of that can really add up,
It's so true, and it's easy to forget about them.
right? Because they just keep hitting your account every month.
Exactly. And then you're like, oh, where did all my money go?
Exactly.
So do you have any tips for identifying those subscriptions that might be worth cutting?
Absolutely. So, first thing, go through your bank statements
Okay.
and credit card bills and make a list of all those recurring subscriptions.
Okay, so like actually write them down.
Yeah, get it all out in the open.
Yeah.
And then ask yourself for each one,
Mm-hmm.
am I actually using this service regularly?
Okay.
Do I get value for the money?
And if the answer's no.
If the answer is no, it's time to consider canceling.
Okay. And be honest with yourself.
Be brutally honest,
Right.
because sometimes we hold on to things out of habit.
Right. Or we feel guilty about canceling.
Exactly. But your finances will thank you.
Okay, good point. And the guide also mentions meal planning.
Ah, meal planning. That's a classic.
It is, and it's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, it works.
Not only does it save you money on eating out,
Mm-hmm.
but it also tends to lead to healthier choices.
Right, because you're planning your meals in advance. You're not just grabbing whatever's convenient.
Exactly. And you're less likely to make those impulse purchases at the grocery store.
Totally. You go in with a list and you stick to it.
And there are tons of resources online for meal planning ideas.
Oh, yeah. Tons of recipes, meal prep tips.
Yeah, it's actually kind of fun to get creative with it.
It can be fun, and it can be a great way to involve your family.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Get everyone involved.
Make it a family affair.
And the guide even talks about energy savings,
Oh, energy savings.
which might not seem directly related to saving money.
Right. But it all ties in.
But it does because those small changes like switching to LED light bulbs, being mindful of your thermostat,
Right.
unplugging devices when you're not using them.
It all adds up.
Those can actually make a difference in your monthly utility bills.
Yeah, it can shave a few dollars off here and there.
And then those savings can be redirected towards your financial goals.
Exactly. It's like finding extra money you didn't know you had.
It's like a little bonus.
A little bonus for being energy conscious.
But what about when you've trimmed your budget as much as you can
Okay.
and you still need more cash flow?
Right. Sometimes you got to look at the other side of the equation.
Exactly. And the guide brings up a strategy that I think a lot of people might be interested in.
What's that?
It talks about boosting your income.
Ah, yes, the income side of things.
Exactly. So not just cutting expenses,
Right.
but actually finding ways to bring in more money.
And that can be through a variety of ways.
Right. Talks about side hustles.
Yeah, side hustles are huge these days.
You're like freelancing, selling unused items online.
Yeah, declutter and make some cash.
Exactly. Or exploring the gig economy.
The gig economy is booming,
It is. There are so many options out there.
and a lot of them are very accessible.
So have you seen any trends in terms of like which side hustles are most accessible or have like the highest earning potential?
Well, it really depends on your skills and interests.
Okay.
But some popular options for freelancers are platforms like Upwork and Fiverr.
Okay.
And for selling unused items, you've got eBay and Facebook Marketplace. And then the gig economy offers a wide range of things, from ride sharing to food delivery to pet sitting.
So there really is something for everyone,
There really is.
which is encouraging.
It's about finding what fits your lifestyle.
Exactly. And the guide even acknowledges the reality of saving
Oh, right.
while managing debt,
Ah, yes. It's the debt dilemma.
which, let's face it, many people are dealing with.
It's a common challenge.
It is. It can feel overwhelming
It can.
to try to save while also paying down debt.
Right, because you're kind of like pulled in two directions.
Exactly. So the guide highlights a few strategies that might help,
Okay, what are those?
like prioritizing high-interest debt first.
Okay, so tackle the most expensive debt first
Exactly.
to minimize interest charges.
Or using the snowball method,
Ah, the snowball method.
where you focus on paying off the smallest debts first,
Right.
regardless of interest rate.
And that's more about the psychological boost.
It is. It's about building momentum
Yeah, seeing those debts disappear.
and feeling like you're making progress.
Exactly, keeps you motivated.
So both approaches have their advantages.
Right, it's about finding the one that works best for you
And your personality.
and your financial situation.
Right. And the guide also reminds us that even while tackling debt, allocating a small portion to savings
Okay.
is still important.
Even if it's just a little bit.
It is. It's about building that habit.
Yeah, and that sense of control.
So it's about finding that balance between tackling the past.
And building for the future.
Exactly.
It's a balancing act.
This has been so helpful already,
Glad to hear it.
and we're just getting started.
We've only just scratched the surface.
But before we move on to the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I have a question for you.
I'm all ears.
With all these different strategies and tips,
Yeah.
how do you recommend someone choose the right approach for their specific situation?
That's a great question.
Because there's so much to consider.
There is.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can be a bit daunting.
So how do you narrow it down?
That's a really important question, and it's something we'll explore further
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Don't go anywhere. All right, so we're back and ready to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, I'm really excited to continue this deep dive into saving strategies.
Me too. There's so much good stuff in this guide.
There is. And, we were just talking about how to choose the right approach.
Right.
When there are so many options.
It can feel overwhelming.
It really can. It's like having a whole toolbox, but not knowing which tool is best for the job.
Exactly, and that's where self-awareness comes in.
Yeah.
The guide emphasizes the importance of understanding your financial personality.
Your financial personality.
Yeah, like what are your spending habits?
Okay.
What's your comfort level with risk? What are your long-term goals?
So it's not just about the numbers,
Right.
but about knowing yourself.
Exactly. It's about understanding how you approach money.
And once you have a better understanding of that, then you can start to narrow down the strategies
Right.
that are most likely to work for you.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about finding the right fit.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's like personalized finance.
The guide also mentions something I found intriguing.
Okay, what's that?
dealing with unexpected windfalls.
Ah, windfall.
Yeah, those unexpected bonuses,
Okay.
tax refunds, maybe even an inheritance.
About little surprises.
Yeah, and it's easy to see those as like free money
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and just spend it impulsively.
It's tempting.
It is.
But the guide challenges that mindset,
Okay.
and it encourages us to view windfalls as opportunities.
Opportunities for what?
Opportunities to accelerate our progress toward our goals.
So instead of that spontaneous shopping spree, maybe make an extra payment on your debt
Exactly.
or invest it for the future,
Right. It's about making those windfalls work for you.
not against you.
Exactly. Long-term thinking.
Okay, smart thinking.
Got to play the long game.
Now let's talk about something that can feel a bit daunting.
Okay.
Long-term savings and retirement planning.
Ah, yes, the R word.
I know it feels far off for some people,
It does, especially when you're younger.
but the guide mentions these employer-sponsored programs like
Okay.
401ks and HSAs.
Right. Those are key.
Can you break those down for us?
Sure. So a 401k is a retirement savings plan offered by many employers,
Okay.
and you contribute a portion of your pre-tax income.
Okay.
And that money grows tax-deferred until retirement.
So you don't pay taxes on it until you withdraw it.
Exactly. Which is a huge advantage.
Okay, and what about HSAs?
An HSA or health savings account is a tax-advantaged savings account
Okay.
that can be used for healthcare expenses.
Okay.
And it's typically paired with a high-deductible health insurance plan.
So you're essentially saving money for healthcare costs.
Right.
While also getting a tax break.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
And one of the key benefits of both 401ks and HSAs is the potential for employer matching contributions.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure, so many employers will match a portion of your contributions
Great.
up to a certain limit.
So they're basically giving you free money.
It's essentially free money.
That's amazing.
It's a fantastic way to boost your savings.
So even if retirement feels far off,
Right.
it's wise to start saving early.
Yeah, and maximize those benefits.
Okay, so take advantage of those employer-sponsored programs.
Absolutely, if you have access to them.
The guide also brings up something we encounter every day:
What's that?
smart shopping.
Ah, smart shop.
Yeah, it's not about depriving ourselves,
Right.
but rather being conscious consumers.
Exactly. It's about making informed choices.
So looking for deals, using coupons, comparing prices,
All of that.
those kinds of things.
Yeah, the guide highlights the power of small savings.
Okay.
Those seemingly insignificant discounts or rewards, they can accumulate over time
Right.
and make a real difference in your overall spending.
It's like finding hidden treasure
Kind of like that.
in your everyday purchases.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting a good price.
Okay.
It's also about making sure you're actually getting value for your money.
So not just buying something because it's on sale,
Right.
but because you actually need it.
And you'll use it.
And it aligns with your goals.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with your purchases.
Okay. This guide is packed with such practical advice.
It's a gold mine.
I feel like we're uncovering a secret code.
The code to financial success.
Exactly.
And the principles are simple, but they can be incredibly powerful.
When applied consistently.
Consistency, that's key.
But let's be honest, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated.
It is, especially when progress feels slow.
Yeah, you're putting in the effort, but you're not seeing the results right away.
Right. And that can be discouraging.
So the guide offers some tips for staying on track.
Does it?
It does.
Okay, what are some of those tips?
Well, one of the key suggestions is to visualize your success.
Visualization.
Yeah, imagine yourself achieving your goals.
Okay.
Whether it's buying that dream house or traveling the world.
So create a mental picture of what you're working towards.
Exactly. And that visualization can be a powerful motivator.
It can, because it makes it feel more real
Right. And it gives you something to focus on.
and something to strive for.
The guide also suggests setting up a reward system for yourself.
Oh, a reward system.
Yeah, so maybe after reaching a certain savings milestone,
Okay.
you treat yourself to something you enjoy.
So like a little celebration.
Exactly. It's about celebrating those small wins and acknowledging your progress.
And it makes the journey more enjoyable.
Right. It keeps you engaged.
And it reminds you that saving isn't just about deprivation.
It's about creating a life you love.
Exactly.
And remember, everyone's journey is different.
Right.
Don't compare yourself to others and get discouraged.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
It really is focus on your own progress and celebrate your own achievements.
That's the best way to stay motivated.
Okay, so no more comparing ourselves to those Instagram influencers.
No more keeping up with the Joneses.
Focus on your own path.
On your own goals.
Okay, now as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
there's something I want to touch on.
What's that?
A deeper aspect of saving
Okay.
that goes beyond just the numbers.
I am intrigued.
So, while financial security is important,
Hmm.
the true power of saving lies in the freedom
Frida.
and opportunities it unlocks.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth.
It's about what you do with that wealth.
Exactly. It's about aligning your financial choices
Okay.
with your values and aspirations.
Creating a life where you can pursue your passions, support the causes you care about,
Right.
and leave a positive impact on the world.
It's about having the resources to make a difference.
So it's not a sacrifice, it's an investment.
An investment in yourself
Your dreams.
and your future.
And that brings us to a final, thought-provoking question
Oh, a question.
for you to consider.
Okay, hit me with it.
How can you leverage the strategies we've discussed today to not only achieve financial security,
Right.
but also to live a life that's aligned with your deepest values and aspirations?
Wow, that's a big one.
It is, but it's a really important one.
It is.
It's not just about saving for the sake of saving, but about saving for a purpose.
For life that you truly desire.
And that's where the real journey begins.
The journey to financial freedom and fulfillment.
Yeah, that question really has me thinking, about the bigger picture. Like, it's not just about, pinching pennies.
Right. It's about the why behind the saving.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this deep dive into saving strategies so valuable.
Yeah, it's not just a how-to manual.
It's like a philosophy almost.
It's about aligning your money with your life.
And the guide provides so many tools to do just that.
It's a pretty comprehensive toolkit.
It is from building that emergency fund to setting smart goals, automating our savings, managing debt, even boosting our income.
There's something in there for everyone at every stage.
And what I really appreciate is that it emphasizes, personalization.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
It's about finding what works for you
Your circumstances, your goals.
and your personality.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's about tailoring those strategies.
And remembering that it's a journey.
Right. It's not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
There will be ups and downs, challenges and triumphs
But the key is to stay focused,
on your goals.
celebrate your progress, and never stop learning.
It's about constantly evolving and adapting.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
I'm glad you found it helpful.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of saving now.
That's great to hear.
It's not just a chore, it's an opportunity.
It's an investment in your future.
And remember, the source material saving strategies has even more great advice.
Yeah, tons of actionable tips in there.
So we encourage you to revisit it with this fresh perspective
Absolutely.
and start putting these strategies into action.
Take control of your finances and shape your future.
The best investment you can make is in yourself and your dreams. Happy saving, everyone.